This is the true story of a family who discovered someone had been secretly living inside their walls. Not for a night. Not for a day. But for weeks. Listening to them. Watching them. Moving through the house as silently as a shadow. And they had absolutely no idea. It began in 1986, in the quiet town of Townsend, Massachusetts. The Bowen family, a single mother and her 3 children, lived in a modest, peaceful home. Nothing about it suggested a nightmare was hiding just inches beneath the surface. But Annie, one of the daughters, started noticing things. It began with sounds, tiny taps inside the walls, faint shuffling in the attic, slow scratches that felt too intentional to be animals or pipes. She tried ignoring it, until objects in her room began moving on their own. Her jewelry box would be open. Her brush would shift positions. Her closet door would crack open even though she rarely touched it. She asked her mom if she'd been in her room. The answer was always no. Then one night, Annie found something that made her stomach drop. Written on her wall in messy, uneven handwriting were the words, "I'm watching you." Her mother assumed it was a prank. She repainted the wall. But the message returned, higher this time, in a spot Annie couldn't reach. Whatever was happening, it was getting bolder. The noises grew louder. More human. Knocking, footsteps, hands dragging slowly across the inside of the wall. Annie swore she felt cold air rush past her sometimes, like someone had walked by her quickly, even though she was alone. Then one night, the family returned home to something terrifying. Furniture had been moved. Cabinets were wide open. Lights were turned on, and written across the living room wall, in what looked like blood, were the words, "Come find me." Terrified, the mother grabbed her kids and ran to a neighbor's house. They called the police immediately. Officers arrived, searched every room, and found no sign of forced entry. No broken windows. No disturbed locks. But something felt wrong. The house was freezing. Silent. Like it was holding its breath. Then an officer walked into Annie's bedroom, and saw her dresser pushed slightly away from the wall. Behind the dresser was a small crawlspace panel. A door built directly into the wall. The officer pulled it open, and what he saw inside would haunt him forever. Curled tightly between the wall studs, was a teenage boy. His eyes were wide. His clothes filthy. And in his hand, he held a hatchet. The boy didn't scream or struggle. He just stared back at them. His name was Daniel LaPlante, a 16-year-old local teen no one suspected, and no one imagined capable of something like this. But the truth was worse than anyone expected. LaPlante hadn't just been hiding, he had been living inside the walls. Police searched the interior cavities of the house and found a network of tunnels carved through the insulation, long, narrow pathways connecting bedrooms, hallways, and the attic. He had carved sleeping spaces, stored food, stolen items from the family, even adjusted vents so he could watch them through slits in the wall. For weeks, he listened to their conversations. Watched them sleep. Moved silently through the walls while they were gone. And wrote messages designed to terrify Annie. He didn't want to rob them. He didn't want shelter. What he wanted was control. Especially over Annie, the one he had become obsessed with long before the family knew anything was happening. The tapping? That was him, seeing who reacted. The missing objects? Trophies he kept hidden. The messages? Written while the family was out. He had been inches away from them every single day. Breathing behind the drywall. Watching them eat. Watching them talk. Watching them sleep. And the hatchet he carried, made officers realize the family was lucky they came home when they did. LaPlante was arrested immediately. The Bowen family never stepped foot in that house again. Construction workers who repaired the home claimed the tunnels were far more extensive than police believed, stretching in strange directions deeper into the structure. Neighbors reported that even after LaPlante was removed, the house still made noises at night, tapping, scratching, knocking, as if the walls remembered the thing that once lived inside them. But the truth is simple, sometimes the scariest monsters aren't ghosts or demons. Sometimes the scariest monsters are human. And they live closer than you think, just inches away, quietly breathing. On the other side of a thin sheet of drywall.